Hi, everyone. Welcome to the webinar, Fundraising Your Way to SSDP 2017. The goal of this session today is to let you know about all of the different ways that you can raise money to get yourself to the SSDP conference and to learn some tools for fundraising for projects and for your chapter in the future. My name is Lauren Paget. I'm the Development Officer at Students for Sensible Drug Policy. I'm joined by my coworkers, outreach coordinators, Tyler Williams and Francis Fu, and by SSDP board member Miranda Gottlieb. So our agenda for this evening is going to start off with Miranda discussing some strategies for raising funds from your university to get to the conference. After that, Francis is going to give a rundown of the scholarship opportunities that SSDP has available for everybody this year. And then I will wrap things up with a bird's eye overview of fundraising and some universal truths of fundraising that will be useful to you in the long term. So 17 is going to be a really fantastic experience. You will meet lots of other SSD peers, and you'll be able to learn from them and network with them. It's an awesome experience, and since we have started putting the content together, I don't want to spoil too much, but it is going to be awesome. Let's help you guys raise some money, and let's not let fundraising stand in the way of you getting to an amazing conference. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Miranda, who is a pro at raising money from universities, and she will share with you her strategies that have been successful for her.
Thanks, Lauren. Hey, everyone. I was a graduate of the University of Tennessee, Knoxville in May of 2016, and I don't know if I'm a pro, but I successfully, fundraised or gathered money, if it wasn't like the traditional sense of fundraising that we might talk about tonight, in order to pay for a couple of trips, different conferences, and research opportunities while I was a student. And so I wanted to share some of the things that I learned along the way with you that I think can be really helpful, not only for this conference, but really in thinking about the rest of your academic time as an undergrad, and especially if you go on to graduate programs if you're not a graduate student right now. Anyway, we'll go to the first slide, that is budget. And I start with this because you don't know how much money to ask for if you don't know how much money you need. And I know that we can kind of ballpark some of these numbers in our head, but when we're asking people for money, it's really important to visualize that number for them, especially when we're talking about larger budgets for your departments and the different areas of campus that you might ask for money. They have a budget that they have to meet every year, and sometimes they have surplus funding. And that's really what you're looking for, is kind of how you can incorporate your budget needs into the surplus budget of the entity that you ask for money. So just thinking through some of the costs that will be occurring with this conference, some of them I hope that you're able to cover with CAT points, because that's what I would probably recommend you to do first, or at least tell the people that you're asking for money on campus that you are only looking for this as helping you make up the rest of the money to get to the conference. Kind of, you're not relying on them 100%. If that's not true, I would recommend kind of just thinking of ways of saying that they're contributing to something and not footing the whole bill. It makes them feel, I don't know, this is just me talking, but it makes them feel like it's not up to them whether you go or not, but really as like a nice gesture of support. So anyway, why I say that is because I've broken down in the last category, or I'm sorry, the last column, some categories or areas that you can ask maybe or pursue for additional funding. And by bringing together these kind of stakeholders in your conference career, if you will, if that's, how you get to conferences, who's contributing to that, you want to diversify who you're asking and making them feel like they have a role in your education and what this means for the conference. So be really thorough about your budget. Don't be greedy because there's like a lot of reasons, but also, they'll see right through you. A lot of these people have been to conferences themselves, and it's just important to be honest about your budget, but also cover all the things you need. All right, be strategic. So that's the next slide. And this is where it becomes really important. The work that you do up front and the planning that you do and the writing and the real thoughtful approach can really have a great return on investment of your time. And that means that when you tailor a proposal to a particular department or someone who has influence over the allocation of funding, that is meaningful to them, even if they don't give you money this time or they're unable to for whatever reason. It makes a big impact when you really tailor your approach. So I've put a link in this slide, and we can also put a link on the Facebook page if you want to see just this one pager that I wrote. It doesn't include a budget, which is something I would, it has a narrative budget but not a visual budget, so I would say that's one thing you should probably include with some details about where each of the funding pieces are coming from, be it your own pocket, be it cap points, be it some other department on campus. The visualization is a really great tool to put into your proposal. Some of the other components to this proposal that I think will make your case more compelling is what the concrete kind of consequences are for you going, and consequences in a positive connotation. You can meet a lot of people, the networking, maybe you're presenting, it's an opportunity for you to learn more about the subject matter. It's not just because you want to go, make a really good case for yourself. You're the only person in the world that can go here and do this thing, and that's why they should fund you. So be humble, but also be passionate about why you need to be there. Also, come up with a form of reciprocity. Why is it that this department or entity should give you money? What is it that you do for them as much as they do for you in a monetary sense? So it's not going to be dime for dime, but offering to come and give a presentation or bring back materials or serve on a board. A lot of times departments need students who are dedicated or who can be counted on to show up to things, and that could be a really good relationship. Make sure that's just should go without saying, but writing written notes and following up with people if they fund you, a week after you get back, maybe even a few months after you get back also, just to say that it was really important to you and you had a great experience and you look forward to working with them in the future, something to maintain and build upon that relationship. Following through on your proposals, and by proposals I mean your reciprocity. Whatever you said to this department or person or group that gave you money, make sure you do that. If that's showing up to a meeting or doing whatever you were going to do for them in return for the funding, it's really important that you do a good job on that. And sometimes when we get back from conferences, life takes over, you're catching up, it's just a whirlwind, but it can really help your credibility and just the way that people perceive you if you take that seriously, what you said you were going to do in exchange for the funding. Just a few other things, like I said before, including a visual budget is super important, I think, and making these proposals a reflection of you in the sense of, be creative in the way that you write a narrative proposal. Think of ways that you can approach people and organizations or departments in ways that maybe they hadn't previously connected. So what I mean is, if you're an engineer but you're interested in studying drug policy, the engineering department may still be interested in funding you, but make the connection, and that will come through not only the way in which you approach different individuals or departments with the idea, but also in the proposal that you make with them for when you return. So connect the dots for them and make it a compelling case for yourself. Lastly, I hate saying this, but we all need the reminder, make sure that your proposals are spell checked, that they're formatted well, that you've put in some time editing, and so that this is a serious deal for you, because if it's just going to have fun and you're not taking it seriously, they won't take you seriously for the funding component. So they're giving you money. They want to make sure that you're a representation of the school and that, this is a worthwhile investment for them, because you're going to get so much out of this conference, because it really will change the way in which you look at drug policy advocacy, and probably, go back to influence what you do on your campus significantly. So I think that's all I have. Anything else you wanted me to cover? Lauren, back to you.
That's a great rundown, Miranda. Thank you so much for that. These colleges and universities have funds for students to go to conferences, and they can be yours. So that was an awesome overview, and this info is also fleshed out in depth in Miranda's blog post, which we posted to the Facebook event. It's somewhere on the wall for it there. So I also forgot to mention at the beginning that we're going to take your questions at the tail end of this webinar. So if you have questions that are coming up for you as we're going along, please go ahead and post them in the Facebook event, and we will do our best to answer all of them. Okay, so raising money from your school is one way to get yourself to the SSDP conference. Another way is the scholarships that Students for Sensible Drug Policy works to provide for members of our student and alumni community. So Frances Fu is going to give us an overview of the scholarships that are available for 2017.
Cool, thanks, Lauren. So Students for Sensible Drug Policy has two main scholarship opportunities that I want to let everyone know about. And just as a reminder, if you are a student, if you're a chapter member or chapter leader, these scholarships should be something that you turn to as an option after you've exhausted all possibility of paying for registration, lodging, and transportation with your CAP points. So your CAP points should always be used first to pay for conference. And then afterwards, these scholarships are a great supplement to help you get to conference. So the first one that I want to let everyone know about is the Daniel Dubois Scholarship. The deadline for that is Friday, February 10th. Daniel Dubois was an SSDP All-Star alum, and his main passion was in psychedelics, and he founded the Psychedelic Society of San Francisco. So this scholarship would be for a student who has a special interest or expertise in psychedelic research, psychedelic education, psychedelic therapy, and harm reduction. Again, this scholarship, the application is due on Friday, February 10th, and you can find that on our website. When you look at the frequently asked questions for SSDP 2017, you can find the link and the explanation for that there. The second scholarship that I want to let everyone know about is the SSDP Diversity Scholarship. It's organized by the DARE Committee, otherwise known as the Diversity Awareness, Reflection, and Education Committee. It's a committee comprised of a variety of members, both inside and outside of the SSDP network, including board, staff, students, alum, and just other community members and stakeholders who care about increasing engagement with presently underrepresented perspectives in the drug policy reform movement. So for this scholarship, it's pretty special because anyone can apply, not just students or people in the SSDP network. Like literally anyone can apply, even if you haven't been involved with SSDP before. And as long as you as an applicant offer a compelling reason for why you should be there, for why your perspective is unique and different from anything else that SSDP has had before or has to offer, you are definitely up for consideration. The deadline for that is a little bit earlier, and it is on January 31st at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. So yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact your outreach coordinators or myself.
Great, thank you, Frances. That January 31st is definitely coming up soon, so be sure to jump on your scholarship application if you're considering applying. Okay, so sure.
It's the Diversity Scholarship for SSDP 2017. And actually what I'll do is I'll post both of the links for the applications for each scholarship in the Facebook event right now, just so everyone has that.
Awesome. Thanks, Frances. Okay, so for my segment, I'm going to ask Tyler to pull up a document that we're going to share with you guys. And Tyler, if you can let me know when it's up, since I'm on my phone. While Tyler's doing that, you want to raise money from your school, you're hoping to get a scholarship, but it's always good to have a fallback plan. And I have seen a lot of SSDPers starting crowdfunding campaigns to get themselves to the conference, and I think that is a really good way to go about things. To just be for how to ask a person for money. That might be a school administrator. It might be a person who is, part of your community on campus that you think might be interested in helping you get to the conference. Maybe it's a professor. Maybe it's a local business in your community that has supported your SSDP chapter. So whoever it may be, here are some universal truths about raising money. Are you guys seeing the document okay? Wonderful. Okay, so the first truth here is going to be fundraising is a conversation between funded and funder. It's a little more complicated than simply ask and you shall receive. So think about who you're going to ask for donations to help support your crowdfunding campaign to get you to the conference. Seek out people who are interested in SSDP's cause, can relate to it, and who care about your success. Don't necessarily default to just trying to ask the wealthiest person you know. And you're going to need to cultivate interest from that donor. And the best way to find out what somebody cares about in the world is to ask lots of questions. You will find out what that person is passionate about. Maybe ask them, how did you find out about SSDP? Or what causes have you been involved with in the past? Really, you can develop their connection to the work that you're doing in this way, because once you've figured out what their core interests are about drug policy, whether that's student advocacy or harm reduction or legalization, really illustrate the connection there for how that aligns with the work that you're trying to do. Finally, it's a conversation. So frame it maybe like, what problem or injustice in the world can my activism help solve for you? Do you want to see a medical amnesty policy in our university town? Our SSDP chapter wants to make that happen, and you can invest in us to make that possible. Next up, effective fundraising is a result of telling your story. Stories, what do? They transport us. Telling the story of what you or your chapter has been working on and why you really want to go to the SSDP conference is going to really illustrate for the donor what the stakes are here. Telling a story puts the donor in your shoes. What kind of ending does this story have? It's up to them. Thirdly, people give to people. If worthy causes alone, when phrased in an abstract way, feed the hungry, care for the sick, and the drug war, kind of raises more questions than they answer. So that is why people give to people. Humans are, inherently social. We care about and spend, lots of time and energy creating and maintaining our social networks. And if you are a gracious ambassador for yourself and for the cause that you're trying to work on, you will come across as someone whose success is better for the world broadly. I hope that makes sense to you. Fourth, someone must ask for the money. Gifts must be solicited. They don't just appear. It's pretty rare for someone to wake up in the morning and say, you know what? I am going to donate to UConn's crowdfunder to go to the SSDP conference. They wake up and they think about what they're going to have for breakfast, how late for work they are, and what they need to work on first. But if an ask is, posed to them at some point during the day, it gets on their mind again. So ask and follow up. If you're doing a crowdfunding page, don't just post it on Facebook out to the ether. It's really easy for folks to, scroll past it and miss an opportunity to support an amazing cause. So make direct asks. Hit people up over Messenger, or better yet, call them or ask face-to-face. You remember that hearing no is okay. It's not the end of the world. This person is not going to suddenly hate you because you've asked them for money. thank them for considering your request, and don't be afraid to ask why. You'll learn what motivates that donor, and that will be so valuable to you when you work to fundraise for this or any other project that you work on in the future. All right, fifth, you cannot thank a donor enough. Miranda already mentioned it, but I will repeat it. Definitely buy thank you notes and thank anyone who donates to help you get to the conference. Expressing gratitude is the same as expressing respect. You may even call to thank someone if you receive a really sizable donation to your crowdfunding campaign. It really pays attention to the person who helped you out. They will feel like they are part of the good feelings that are around your story of getting to this conference and fighting for this great cause. So definitely thank donors and follow up with them on other occasions when you're not asking for money, and check in with this person, build a relationship. Sixth, seek investments, not gifts. We may call donations gifts, but they're really investments. It really invites the person who's funding you to share responsibility for the outcome of your project or your crowdfunding campaign or the work that your chapter wants to do. Seventh, donors are developed, not born. Keep the conversation open. That's what I was getting at with thanking donors a lot. Be sure to follow up with people and really build a relationship with them. Good friends on the Drug Story Board of Directors, Emily Stevenson, shout out, shared this really great advice with me that is repeated a lot around the fundraising world. If you want advice, ask for money. If you want money, ask for advice. That has rang true in a lot of my fundraising experience. People will be really excited about supporting you if they feel like they are involved and invested in the outcome of what you're working on and want to see your success. So that is universal fundraising truths that I hope that you'll be able to use in some of your projects. So starting from there, Tyler, are there any questions that have popped up on the Facebook event so far?
Hey everyone, at this point, if you want to go ahead and ask questions, we'd prefer if you did it in the live chat of the YouTube video, but you can also post it in the Facebook event, and we will field those as well.
Great. And I'll share the this Fundraising Truths document onto the Facebook event after we're wrapped up. Sure. Sure. So not seeing any questions yet. I guess maybe I'll talk for a little bit about using crowdfunding campaigns. I'm on the board of Drug Story, as I mentioned briefly there, and if any of you followed the birth of Drug Story, you know that we raised our first round of funding entirely over crowdfunding and through direct asks, of course. So I think that the best reason to use crowdfunding as a fundraising tool is when there is a concrete goal to work towards and a strict deadline for it. So, you know, your goal is however much your chapter needs to get to the conference, and your deadline is March 24th, the first day of the conference. So that makes crowdfunding a good fit for this. But if you were to be working on like a long-term project, like if you were to use it for, you know, ongoing chapter fundraising, I don't think it's, you know, necessarily quite as good of a tool for that because, you know, it's a endless timeline, if you know what I mean. So I think that for day-to-day chapter fundraising, you know, if you are, you know, at the level that you feel like you might want to accept donations from people regularly, PayPal is a pretty good place to start in terms of a donor platform. They're all going to have fees that they take. That's sort of just the way these things work. But PayPal is a really widely used payment system. It's trusted by most people. So if you're thinking about like doing a regular year-round fundraising for your chapter and want to accept gifts from people online, like PayPal is a pretty good way to start. So back on crowdfunding campaigns, a really good way to engage people is to make a video. We had a video for Drug Story, and I've also seen definitely at least one SSDP conference crowdfunding page that had a video. I believe it involved cracking an egg on one's head, reference to the Rachel Lee Cook, "This is your brain on drugs" infomercial. Shout out to whichever chapter that was. I want to say it might have been one of Tyler's. Yes, that's what I thought. Awesome. Yeah, so videos are very engaging. Definitely got my attention. So I want to donate to every single one of your crowdfunding pages, but that would make me broke. But I believe in you. You can do this. Okay, sounds good. I hope that this has been helpful. Hopefully, if you feel compelled to ask questions, please email me. My email address is lauren@ssdp.org. That's LAUREN. I will do my best to get back to you in a timely manner, but I really want to see SSDPers succeed at fundraising, and I want to see as many of you guys as possible out there in Portland. It's going to be a fantastic conference, and if you can raise your own funds to get out there, you're your own boss. It's an awesome skill to learn. I'm always happy to talk to SSDPers about raising money. All right, well, thanks to everybody who joined us, and to Francis, Tyler, Miranda. This has been a webinar. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.